We are on Jones and Company and speaking with the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Dr. Johnson. And we spent some time talking about the success of the IAAF relays. But you said something recently about excellence. And what we saw in the execution of those games was a bit of excellence. We need to bring that level of excellence in other aspects of national life in the Bahamas.
Yes.
How do we parlay that into other areas of our national life?
Well, I tell you, I think it's leadership. I think you do it by example. You have to demonstrate it for people. When they see it, they'll recognize it. The whole population understands the value of it, and the more you do it, the better you get. And it's answering the age-old question, really, for us as a culture that we have not yet tackled. It's come with us from Africa. It's come with us throughout the ages. And we do it at the beginning of our Junkanoo warm-ups. We ask, who are we? Who are we? Who are we? That's the big thing for us as a people 40 years in. You know, the whole biblical story, Pindling was our Moses. He got us out of Egypt and into this land. This is the promised land. There was a promise that came with it. 40 years later, we've been wandering around in this land. The 40 years is up. It's on the table now. Who are these people? They call themselves Bahamians. What are they here for? What are we going to do? What's our contribution to mankind? How is our history going to unfold? What's the meaning behind our mythology? Who are we going to be? This is the big thing for us. And we see these flashes of brilliance all the time in our society, in our national life, in our personal lives, and then we relax.
But the questions are still being asked.
The question is still there.
We 40 years later, asking the same question. Shouldn't we have the answer by now?
It is there. I'll give it on your show because no one wants to say it. On the birth of this country, Mr. Jones, the late, great R.E. Cooper, the head of Mission Baptist Church, Hay Street, who met with Marcus Garvey, Pindling, who met with Martin Luther King, gave a presentation on Clifford Park, 10 minutes to midnight. He spoke from the book of 1 Peter, blessed this nation and consecrated it, and read that we are a peculiar people, part of a royal priesthood, a chosen generation, set apart by land, by sea, by all sorts of things, for a particular thing.
And to do some marvelous work.
To do some marvelous work, to glorify His marvelous name.
Yes.
We're locked in, that's who we are. When we do those things, you will see what happened last weekend.
But that was a passage taken from Peter.
It's a charge.
That was the charge,
the
first sermon
at
Independence.
Of a new nation.
But that has been preached over and over again in many quarters. But have we really taken that on as a charge as a nation? We haven't we? Have we?
In certain quarters, yes, and in other quarters, no. We have not defined ourselves as a group of people. A culture needs a mythology. And I often wonder, you know, I grew up under some great fellas, right? And my grandfather, E.P. Roberts, laid the cornerstone at Jumbe Village. When he came back that evening, he talked to me about mythology. I didn't understand it. He said mythology is the story of yourselves, of what you could be. It is not what has happened. It is the relentless pursuit of what can be for a group of people. And we have to define our mythology now as Bahamians. It's right in front of us. Look what we can do, 300,000 against 300 million. We can beat the United States on any track, any day, any given time. Look what we could do. We get 3 Rhodes Scholars.
Yeah, we know
300,000 people, 3 Rhodes Scholars.
Yes, we know these things.
We know what we
possible.
can do.
Yes, These things are possible, but Dr. Johnson, I put it to you that we have not had the inspirational leadership in this country for a long time, and hence we have a whole lot of our youth who are wandering. And what does it take to get them out of that wandering mentality?
Policy, purpose, a world, global perspective. This is what it takes to engage young people. Mr. Jones, 51% of the human beings in the Bahamas are under the age of 35. More than half of this population are considered what we class in the world as young. I read something the other day, just yesterday, I was reading up on India's elections. 600 million people in India are under the age of 35. Yeah, we have in the Bahamas, 51% of our population are young people. And you need a policy that engages them, that talks to them, with them, and for them. Otherwise, all of the social strife, we have. And I'm glad I've done my thing for sports. I got lined up now a huge cultural renaissance. And on Monday, I take to Cabinet and colleagues a national youth policy, right? Because a national youth policy is going to begin the conversation once and for all. For young people, this is what you got to do to get them involved. And I tell you, I'm glad I sit in this chair at this time in this country, because we're going to do it. We are going to do whatever we have to do to get young people involved in this country, inspired and on their way to what we call the Bahamian dream.
But you have a whole lot of them who are disengaged, Dr. Johnson, a whole lot of them who are woefully dependent on the government of the Bahamas for sustenance and other things. How do you reprogram the youth of this country that is not the way? And how do you get them engaged?
Part of it is classic social engineering, and people don't like to hear that term. But you got if you have the vision and the will, this is what your editorial is talking about today. Look at us as a nation. We can barely pay our bills. Why? We are in a dependency syndrome. We're buying all our food. We buy chickens. We buy, well, I'm glad your cohort isn't here today, because he would kick off now.
Yes.
We buying chickens, eggs, bananas. My grandparents we shame us, man. We buy pineapples. We buy limes.
Limes are imported from outside the country.
We're buying limes from outside. We're importing these things. Things we used to have so much an abundance of, we had to throw some away. So the first thing, you as a nation, you protect yourself. I think we did a good job in restructuring now the Defense Force. You got to feed yourself. We need to diversify our economy to feed ourselves, to make sure we can supply our basic needs. If something goes wrong somewhere else in the world, they got to feed themselves. So we need to be able to feed ourselves. We need to educate ourselves, not about other people's history. I come here today, I'm dressed like this. I'm tired of wearing a black suit. A black man dressed in a black suit every day. It's hot. It's our country. We need a national dress. What do we wear on our occasions when we go places? Who are we going? What is our representation? We are peculiar people. Let's be ourselves. Let's educate our children as to who we want them to be. We don't want them to be like so and so and so and so and so and so. We want them to be like us. But who are we going to be?
Yes, but we have tremendous cultural influences that have come to bear on the developing young man and young woman in the Bahamas. And a good number of them want to be other
like
than
Mike.
Yes.
They want to be like Mike.
They want to be Americans.
Yeah.
They want to, as a matter of fact, a colleague of mine told me the other day that there were some young Bahamians practicing a foreign accent. And so leaders in our country have done a poor job in getting Bahamians to appreciate themselves.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we need a cultural renaissance. We need people here who, you know, people this weekend saw Pauline Davis Thompson in action. And a lot of young girls came to me and said, you know, I didn't know Pauline was such a well-spoken, well-traveled, well-educated person with such great accomplishment. That's someone I could emulate. Yeah. I am a fellow, I say it publicly, I don't admire many men. John Chippy Chipman, I look at his life, his times, his inspiration, his thought, his process, his mind, his love for family, his love of being what the hell he is. And I like John Chippy Chipman. I look at my grandfather, E.P. Roberts. That's a man I've always wanted to be like my grandfather, E.P. Roberts, man. He was smart, he went to Tuskegee, he was kind, he was gracious. That's what I always wanted to be like. You know, I look at my father, I look at my uncles, I look at, you know, these are the people I want to be like.
So you had more role models then than now? I don't think so. You still have role models in the Bahamas.
A lot more positive role models in the era growing up several years ago than you might have now. You have some social disconnect that has happened that I think creates a little bit of confusion on the ground with young people as they process their ideas and ideals as to what they want to be, as to what is the measure of success. What is the dream, you know? What is success? People want to be happy. They want to be fruitful. They want to have a position in life. They want to be looked at with some level of respect. How do you successfully navigate this as young people now? There's young people, right? And it is our job in leadership. We got to start helping them. And that's what policy makers are supposed to do.
That is it. They are measuring success in different terms, different ways.
Different ways.
And success now is measured in the amount, in the accumulation of things.
Things, just things. Fella, a big song came out, Get Rich or Die Trying. That's something new, that's gonna be, that's successful?
Yes.
Are you kidding me? Are you serious?
But it's not an import.
I mean, that's it. No, yeah, it's import, it's nonsense.
Yes.
That's nonsense. And,
Yes.
that is not riches.
Yes.
In our context, where we come from, over the hundreds of years of being here, that isn't, we don't even consider that riches. That's not rich. That's not being rich. Being rich is understanding people, having an understanding of your culture, being able to enjoy what Tolstoy and the great writers call the wealth of nations, Adam Smith, the wealth of nations. It is in you. And the big question for us is, what's in here now as we redefine ourselves as a nation? What's in here? Because there ain't no money. It ain't something that people could give you, and it's not something that they could take away.
Yes, but when you have thousands of young people mimicking the lifestyles of American ball players and Hollywood and people who are rap artists, among other things, then you have a problem, because you have a problem getting them to differentiate on what it means to be successful and what it means to be wealthy.
Somewhat, but Bahamians generally, we're not stargazers. We're not impressed by, you know, a lot of stars love to come to the Bahamas because, you know, we don't run in the street hollering asking for no autograph. We say, hey, you know, I was in the elevator with Tiger Woods. They say, how you doing, man? How's it going? You know, on your backswing, you got to slow down. You know, we talk, yada yada. It's fine. You leave. We don't bother people like that. There's something special about Bahamians. There's something special that we inherited from hundreds and hundreds of years of some experience that is uniquely ours. That's what we want to nurture as a country. This thing that we have that no one else has.
Dr. Johnson, let's continue on this, in this particular segment on youth development. And I cannot help but remind you that the level of violence in our country is extremely high. We are developing a culture of violence. Perhaps we have already done so. And you see the number of homicides that are recorded weekly, yea, monthly in our country. We're doing better than 10 per month. We are failing in the area of teaching our young people how to deal with conflicts. They are quarrelsome, they are rowdy, they are rude, they are indisciplined.
Yeah. And it points to a societal scenario. It isn't, and you know, I never blame kids. Most people are a product of their environments. They want to do the best they can. Some of them are doing the best they can. Some trying to survive in the area that they have to survive in. And they do everything they can to survive. We have to look at what's setting the tone for this. What has made us turn the corner here, that we are all of a sudden in your face, vicious, aggressive, relentless people.
Angry.
That we, yeah, they're
I'm
angry,
very
that
angry.
we never used to be. You know, I used to always laugh at my friends in college. I played rugby in college, and we used to fight a lot. And, you know, fellas step on your foot, they spill a beer, you know, you get beat up. And I used to apologize to a fellow who stepped on my foot. And fellas say, Dan, what you doing, man? Slap him. I say, no, in the Bahamas, you step on my foot, I tell you sorry. They say, but that makes no sense. I say, but that's where I grew up. Right? That don't bother me. Like, oh, yeah, excuse me. I'd say, excuse me, sorry. And you push the fellow off your foot. That's how it used to be. Now, man, you step on a fella's foot and spill a beer. Yeah? Ain't gonna be no sorry. And we've turned the corner, but it doesn't mean you can't turn back. It doesn't mean that you must give up on this generation of young people who find themselves in a bit of a vortex of very tough scenarios of retribution, of not having sensible family structures and turning into gangs, of not having the hopes and aspirations of their forefathers and turning to some other kind of life because they don't think they're included, they don't think they're going to make it. It isn't for us to give up, it's for us to now engage and get up and do something about it. I personally, Mr. Jones, don't know how we're going to avoid a youth national service.
I was getting there.
I don't know how we're going to avoid that.
It has taken a long time. Does
In politics, timing is everything.
yeah? Well,
You never know what time it got,
I
what
hear
they got
you.
happen.
But it seems to me the absence of political will. Does this government have the political will to put in place a national youth service?
I think so.
You think?
I think so. Well, I mean, Mr. Christie got me. He just got to tell me when.
Perhaps.
In your article, your editorial this morning now,
Yes.
Vision and Will, I tell you conclusively, Sir Lyndon Pindling's vision is Perry Christie's mission. He's the bridge, and in 1997 he made the speech about being a bridge, but it's a bridge to something. It's to a peaceful, prosperous, progressive Bahamas.
Don't you get the impression, Dr. Johnson, that the people are ahead of the government with respect to what the people want in this country? There are a whole lot of people who are very tired of the atmosphere that prevails in the country. The level of social decadence. You go to elderly people and they will say to you, I don't know what this country is coming to. And you've heard it for many a long year. But successive governments have not been able to assure these people or reassure them that we are headed in the right direction.
And I think we're about doing that. I think we're listening to that exact discussion. You've got to hear what people have to say comprehensively, sometimes before you take action. And we're hearing that cry, and we're setting the stage to do something about it, to make a serious intervention at the same time as making an innovation. So, you know, Ms. Jones, we've had a good run in the Bahamas. So you look at where we've come from. One generation, I keep on the wall in my office a picture of Dumfries Cat Island, with the schoolhouse down the road where my father went, and Sir Sidney Poitier and those visited, and the schoolhouse right in the back of this thing, and it's a dirt road. The people walking down the road are barefoot and penniless. This is 1968. This is not that long ago. And I look at where we now sit in air-conditioned premises with technologies and computers and all the accoutrement of modern life in one generation. But we didn't translate. Same thing with these relays. We didn't pass some of the traditional values, knowledge, and wisdom of those people on fully yet. And I don't think the transition is going to occur until the wisdom of the ages, the secret of the ages, the joy and the hope, the prayers of our grandparents and great-grandparents, our ancestors, whispering in our mind and heart all the time is realized. And they are sure that we know what to do with this blessing that they had. It hasn't been passed yet.
Yes, but we are still grappling with 40-year-old problems, Dr. Johnson.
That's the way it is until you answer the question.
And then
the Israelites under, well, first part, Moses didn't get in the promised land. He only saw it. He never gets there with you. Right?
Yes.
Someone else had to go into the promised land. They were there for 40 years wandering around.
Yes, but the 40-year-old problems that we have in the Bahamas are being compounded by new problems from a new generation.
A change is upon you. A change is upon you.
Okay.
A change, Mr. Jones, a change is upon this country. We demonstrated it this past weekend. We were not going to tolerate and reward mediocrity any further. I know what the kids I meet every day, I hear people talking about the lost generation, they can't do this, they can't do that. I just smile. I said, you got to be joking. I show you all some young people, man. The change is upon you. I showed you this weekend. They're ready.
You showed us a minority of Bahamians doing well. What you didn't show us in our heartland communities, Dr. Johnson, that there are misguided young men and women who are on a witch's brew of drugs, who are angry and violent, and who are creating mayhem. That is that is the other side of the coin.
But you can go at that. There are two sides of the coin. That's a minority of people.
Are you sure?
That's a minority. There are only a couple of people around here on that witch's brew. Only a couple of people on that.
Young people abusing drugs.
The majority of people the young people in this country, come with me to GGYA Awards this year, and you see the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of young people. Come to the schools. You see the hundreds and hundreds of young people who are doing well. Come to the churches, the youth groups, the bands, the this, that, and the other. Hundreds of people doing well. Families pushing them to do better. That's the majority of what you saw this past weekend, Mr. Jones. This is a majority ruled country. That's the wishes and aspirations of the majority of people in this country.
Okay.
That's what you see. That's what we want to be. The majority of us, that's what we want to be, and that's what we can be. The minority, well, they can have hell on their hands.
If you are right, that is good news.
It's good news.
All right, let's take this final break on the program. We'll come right back.